This is in no way my attempt to justify my comic book obsession. And this story, I really, really like. Artwork, the storytelling. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Pull List. My name is Travis. Let's talk about Doctor Who. More specifically, let's talk about the 10th Doctor Volume 1, Revolutions of Terror. Since a lot of you seem to like last week's video about Doctor Who comics from Titan Comics, I figured I should start at the beginning of one of them. And the title Revolutions of Terror just sounds kind of creepy, like they could be big spinny monsters that want to suck you up, or they could be revolutions of terrible things that just keep happening. Instead, the Revolutions of Terror are actually washing machines spinning around and around, but it actually makes a lot of sense for the story. The story takes place in New York City and focuses on the life of Gabriela Gonzalez. Gabby is a Mexican-American who is very artistic and creative, but she is frustrated with her family life and her current situation. She dreams of someday going to art school and becoming an artist, but she's stuck doing just one little job for the family, which includes working at the family laundromat, working at the family restaurant, all while her other friends get to go to actual college. Gabby gets to take night classes, but between having two jobs, her family life, and boring nighttime lectures, it's definitely not the life that she would have chosen for herself. There are actually two stories in this book, but today we're going to be talking about the beginning part of the first one. Gabby and her friend Cindy are in Gabby's family's laundromat when all of a sudden there's a very strange explosion. The washing machines all go into a spin cycle and there is a big explosion of laundry and suds everywhere. Gabby falls to the ground, looks over her shoulder, and sees a faint spirit creature type thing, but then it just vanishes. She has no idea what it is. Hector walks in and finds the laundromat soaked as Gabby is trying to escape from the situation because she's so terrified, and Hector has the two girls clean up the entire laundromat. And then Hector tells Gabby's father what happened. Back at the restaurant, Gabby's family has a hard time believing her side of what actually happened, and then they get into an argument about college and working and whatnot. Meanwhile, the doctor is sitting in the restaurant, and Gabby's sister Bianca goes over to take his orders, huevos rancheros. And on the table next to the doctor is a device that he only really describes to her as being something you shouldn't bring near cows. Now I'll pause because this is the important bit. Where exactly in the doctor's timeline does this story take place? Well, it's actually right after he loses Donna, so this story takes place somewhere between Donna and regenerating into 11. When the food is ready, Bianca brings it to the doctor, but by then he has gathered up all of his belongings and he's out the door. His excuse is that he has a phone call with the president of Algeria. And then he mutters this whole thing about if that's actually believable because he doesn't even know if Algeria has a president, and it's a very Tenant Doctor thing to happen. And then Hector, who we find out is Bianca's fiance, and Gabby hear Gabby's grandmother scream, so they run in to check on her. She tells them that she saw the spirit of her deceased husband in pain and agony. You see, it was the eve of the Day of the Dead, so Hector just thinks that this sort of thing is par for course, but her grandmother insists that her husband's soul was in torment. And when Hector leaves Gabby with her grandmother, he goes into the back room to file some paperwork or whatever. He's visited by a giant monster creature, a devilish looking being with a goat for a head, and then it cuts away. To a rather strange series of events, actually. I know, Doctor Who and the word strange kind of go hand in hand pretty often. Well, the doctor has his device, and he's regretting not making it ding or buzz, and then remembering that he would hate it if it buzzes because he doesn't like buzzing. He makes a comment to himself about being a buzzkill, and then reminisces about how Donna would have made a hilarious joke at his expense. So the doctor is walking along with his device, and he notices a change in the readings, and there are three women who are fawning over a very young child, and then the women start screaming. The doctor intervenes and sees that the baby is deformed in a way where it looks like there are pus bubbles all over the baby's face and arms and body. The doctor's device fizzles and goes off, and the baby is reverted back to having smooth skin once again. He advises the mother to take the baby inside and stay in there for a few days, maybe barricade the door, but that there's probably nothing to worry about. Once again, a very Tenant Doctor thing to do. You know, that old Tenant chestnut where everything is fine, but just in case it isn't, maybe barricade the door. But I promise everything is going to be okay. Just maybe take some precautions, but everything is fine. So Gabby's grandmother is at the restaurant saying that there's a sense of dread in the air and that the dead will rise and that they are hungry. They go into the back and find Hector curled up into the corner muttering about how the devil visited him and wanted to take him away and how terrified he is of the whole situation. Bianca runs over to take care of Hector and Gabby says that she should probably be getting to her night class because she doesn't want to come off as a slacker. Because at this point I'm pretty sure she's still upset about Hector telling her dad about the laundromat situation and she just doesn't care about Hector's visions. But while Gabby is on the subway coming home from class, riders start running past her seat terrified and a giant creature starts lumbering into the subway car. It tells Gabby to stop before morphing into a giant disgusting version of Gabby. So we have this big monstrous Gabby following this smaller normal terrified original Gabby. She yells at the man at the end of the subway car to run, but then he puts down his newspaper and it's the doctor. He tells Gabby to take his hand, he pulls out his Sonic, he says hold on tight, and that's how issue number 1 ends. It's a very imaginative story, and the villains are done in such an interesting way that we haven't actually seen in the television show. Now, I am saying that after reading this whole thing, so I know about the creatures, I know what they are, and I know that it's different than a lot of the stuff we see in the actual show. But it's a really interesting idea and a very entertaining story, so would you like to hear about part 2? I think I'm going to be talking about Doctor Who comics a little more often on the pull list, just because it's sort of a best of both worlds situation. Plus, it gives me an excuse to read all the comics that I haven't really gotten a chance to check out yet, so it's a win-win. I decided to talk about Doctor number 10 first, not because he's the cliche most popular Doctor, but because there are so many issues of his story already out. I think second is the 11th Doctor and third is the 12th Doctor, and those are both still ongoing as far as I know. I'm not sure about 9 and I'm not sure about any of the older Doctors, but I will definitely check them out because I'm going to be covering a lot of this stuff in this series. Anyway, that's it for this episode of The Pull List. My name is Travis. Thank you for fueling my comic book obsession, and you will see me tomorrow.